a little bit of a problem area. Nonprofit organizations, this isn't what you do, so oftentimes there's some misreporting going on here. So what's supposed to happen is the stock is given. It's transferred in kind. It's oftentimes in today's world moved electronically from wherever the donor has their financial resources to the charitable organization or the broker for that charitable organization. It gets there, and the day that it gets there, it's supposed to be valued based upon the high value for the day, averaged with the low value of the day, and the average price multiplied by the numbers of shares is the value of the gift. Again, I find this is often, you just look at the stock that day, the moment it comes in, and that's declared as the value. No, it should be, you basically have to wait till the next day to look back to what the high and the low was for the day, average those two, and that's the value of the gift. The other thing I find that nonprofit organizations oftentimes overlook, that is, this isn't a requirement, but it's helpful if the organization, as they acknowledge the gift with a letter, let's say, they also provide what is a tax form, 8283, which is the form that the taxpayer has to fill out. But it's really helpful and useful, and I see Pam shaking her head, to get, so I'm confident in my opinion here. It's really helpful, useful, friendly to the donor to get this.
The donor has to provide that value.
Yes, on the form, but
Like the receiving agency cannot be the one to record that value, right?
the taxpayer has to file this form with their, but typically it is the receiving. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Receive a receipt from the organization like the Community Foundation stating the value of that gift, which they use then to claim on
Right.
their taxes with the 8283. That makes sense.
It does, but we're talking only about stocks now, right? We're not
Right.
talking about other in-kind.
Well, in kind too, you're provided a declared value for IRS purposes with the.
But the recipient, it was always my understanding that the recipient could not be doing the valuation. That's correct.
Well, yes, that's true.
Okay.
Whether it's a piece of art or if it's
Right.
like your stock, if you make a stock to us, it goes to our broker, and the broker sells it, and he provides the valuation of the gift, and that's conveyed to you.
Thank you.
So Pam?
Yeah, Susie, stock is different. Stock is defined, you can never value it on the day of the gift, which has always been an issue with tech stocks and other things that move. Because when you give your stock on any given day, the market has to close. And then it's the mean between the bid and the ask. That's why the brokerage house knows that what you sell it for is irrelevant. It's the mean between the bid and the ask on the day of the transfer. And the transfer is the day the donor walked away from it. On tangible personal property, art, other things, there's an appraisal requirement depending on the value and so on. But a lot of values are set by donors. I'll be honest about that, but not something tradable like stock.
Being real technical, Pam, do you know whether it is the requirement, the IRS requires the charitable organization to report the stock price to the donor? Or is it ultimately the taxpayer's obligation?
If the stock is worth more than $5,000, that 8283 requirement comes into play. And the charity actually has to sign and say, we got it that day, we got it. So they aren't saying we agree to the value, they say we got it. And if the charity then sells that over $5,000 stock, within 2 years they have to report it back to the IRS on a Form 8282, a tattletale form. So the charity might be involved a couple of times, but really just to say we got it. You know, not to say we agree with the value. That's the protection for the charity.
And getting back to a real practical level, I would really strongly encourage every organization represented here to write a letter that says, you gave 1,000 shares of ABC stock, we received it on this date, the high was this, the low was that, the average is this, it translates into a market value of this on that day. That's really helpful. It builds confidence in your organization. It is ultimately useful to the donor. So,
Can
Yeah.
We had a donor recently, she transferred, she basically sold a bunch to transfer into our, like it sort of happened simultaneously, but she did the selling herself. So that part, we just acknowledged it as a cash
gift.
donation at that point. So there was nothing, the forms, because we did not do any of the forms you're talking about.
Yeah.
So were we required, should I go back and do that? I mean,
No.
no, because it's cash.
As far as you're
Okay.
concerned, yeah.
Just
So
checking.
she sold it while still in her coffers, so to speak?
Yeah, she said to her investment banker, I would like you to sell these stocks and give the money to me.
Ooh. Well, I hope they weren't appreciated shares. Maybe they were depreciated shares. Maybe they lost money. I hope that was the case. Yikes.
Bad advice. It's bad advice.
Yeah, and the
Bad
financial
advice.
advisor should have, Oh, well. Okay, moving along. Gift of retirement, yes.
Just a quick question. As a nonprofit, if someone wanted to transfer that to us, what information do we need to provide them for them to be able to transfer those shares to us?
Good question, and this is getting into the nitty-gritty. I hope this is helpful. In today's world, financial securities, stocks and bonds, typically move electronically. So they're held someplace in what they call book entry, and they're going to go in electronic form and book entry form to a new place. So most nonprofit organizations have a relationship with a broker, and that broker provides what are called delivery instructions to the sending organization. And it's 4 or 5 different facts, usually how they're held, the numbers of the account in which they're held electronically. Does that make sense? Okay. Moving along to another topic, and that is a gift of retirement plan assets. And this is kind of a tough one to talk about, actually, but the power of using retirement plan assets, whether they be in a 401k or an IRA or any type of qualified retirement plan, is huge. Because, as you all probably know personally, every dollar inside a retirement plan, generally speaking, there are a few exceptions along the way, but it is a dollar of taxable income. So giving appreciated stock, you're avoiding the capital gain payment, but giving a retirement plan assets, you're avoiding in total what will ultimately be ordinary income to somebody, whether it's the donor or the donor's beneficiaries someday. A dollar in an IRA or a retirement plan is a dollar of taxable income. Really, really important to remember. So, I think the next step, giving those dollars, those taxable dollars, first, oftentimes this is the highest use of these dollars, to give them charitably, either during lifetime or at death, is tremendously powerful. As you probably all know, there has been a law that has, a tax law that has come and gone over the last 3 or 4 years. There's an ability for somebody over the age of 70 to give up to $100,000 in any given year to a charity directly from their retirement plan or IRA, and it becomes non-taxable. It is true that you can take those same dollars, withdraw them, be taxed on them, give them to the charity, get the deduction, but that means, number one, you must itemize deductions. Not everybody gets to itemize, and not everybody gets a dollar for dollar benefit when they do itemize. So this has been a powerful tool, but unfortunately, Congress keeps messing with us, I guess, putting it bluntly. Pam, was it 2012 maybe, this law, maybe it was 11, expired. And it was popular, and in the 11th hour, sometime in December in 2012, Congress voted to say, okay, we'll allow that for this year, but then it expired on 12/31 of 12. And the same thing has happened each of the last years. They failed to make this provision permanent. So we are constantly, as